I don't think we had a lot of issues with people showing up to your place because you kept a cooler full of drinks
I did.
at all times.
Look, I felt like that was just those guys work so hard. And, I think
And you
having
didn't
that
have to
out
do
there.
that because I think I told you a couple times, like, Ashley, you don't have to do that. And the reason why you wanted to know if people were going there was to make sure you had ice and Gatorades for them
Yeah.
that day of work. And I know that's what you were asking me, like, why, like, hey, are they going to be here or not? It wasn't because of what are you doing? What's going on? Where are we at? It was because you genuinely cared about the people that were doing the work in your
Yeah.
backyard, and they do appreciate that. I'm telling you that because they expressed that to me, right?
Well,
So
I mean,
thank you.
I appreciate them. They work very hard. And you guys, have the best of the best in the business working on the pools. And I mean, I have friends who are in the business and they're like, oh yeah, they use all the best.
Hey, so here we are today with a great customer of ours. Her name is Mrs. Ashley Caulfield, and we recently built a pool for you. Around how long has it been now?
Gosh, 9 months. Well, let's see, we started May 1st, didn't we?
I think you're right. Yeah,
Yeah. And then we
yeah,
finished. It felt like forever, but when I look back, I'm like, oh my gosh, that was fast.
right, right. Yeah, we moved pretty quick on your project. Where are you based out of, Ashley? Where do you live? What neighborhood?
We're in the Woodlands area. So obviously, a lot of the pools that I had seen before were existing, 20 plus years. And it wasn't until my son's best friend, you guys built a pool for them. And I went to drop him off at the house and I walked in the backyard and I was blown away.
Okay,
Like,
let's back up. Who who
okay,
who are these friends?
Sarah Jones.
Let's shout out. Let's
Sarah
go. Thank
Jones.
you. We appreciate you, Joneses. You guys are awesome.
Oh,
We
yeah, she
appreciate
was
it.
I mean, the reason I, like, even, found out about you guys, and when I this sounds weird, but when I saw their spa, because it was kind of dark outside, the way the water moved in the spa and, like, the way the layout was, it was just like, "I wanna spend hours out here," and no other pool compared after that. In fact, I called her like, "What did you do for this? What did you do for that?" Like, whenever we were picking the finishes and stuff.
Was she pretty knowledgeable? Was she pretty helpful for you? Having to somebody that you can talk to, right? Lean on a little bit that has built the pool, right? Was this your first pool?
Yeah, our first pool. I mean, other than, like, Intex inflatable
Right,
pools.
right. We've all been there, right? Those blow up academy pools. I know what you're talking about. Yes, ma'am. So this was your first actual gunite shell pool.
Yes.
Was it was it a nerve-wracking process for you? Um, was it something that you had to mentally get prepared for, or you're like, I want a pool, this is what I want, and let's get it done?
The latter. I think for me, I had just dreamed about it for so long and I asked so many questions. And I mean, after seeing her pool and learning about you guys, I stalked your Instagram. I mean, she actually found out about you guys through a friend. I think they won like an award for this woman's pool. You guys had built that one too. So it kind of just was like a little chain reaction. But yeah, I mean, I knew instantly I want this pool.
Right, right.
Now, yesterday.
How did you select your so my goal here, Ashley, is to try to educate. I'm not really a salesperson, right? You know that because I ended up coming in and finishing out your pool build, right? So like I'm not a sales guy. My goal is to strictly talk to the hopefully clients, potential clients that we're getting in front of, and to just let them know who we are and what we're about, and just kind of how the workings are, right? So, with that being said, like, was it a was it a strenuous process for you as a homeowner, getting with Regal Pools? Was it challenging at any level, like HOA or anything? Was anything ever a challenge for you throughout the build?
No, I mean, it's kind of a work of art, so there's just normal things, that happen, but it was handled so well by you guys. I mean, if there was a hiccup, before I could even address it, you were like, "Oh yeah, I already have that taken care of." And that was just like, I mean, I picked the right company. I did not have to stress. And I don't let anything go. You know
Yeah,
that.
yeah. So I know that because I've been building now for going on 16 years. And it's been a learning curve for me because I've always been a guy that's just kind of put my head down and get to work type deal. I've always been that guy, right? I'm a doer. Um, and here at Regal, we like to tell our design team that we're the painters. Like we just want to paint, you know. You tell us what color to paint the wall, and we're gonna paint it, right? When I say we, as the project managers, right? And throughout my tenure in my career, I've learned how to read people, and I've learned when I have that initial conversation with customers, you learn a lot from them. When you step in a person's backyard, when you go into their home, you can tell a lot by that person. And when I did those things at your residence, I knew you were very meticulous. I knew that you were going to be very visual, and
Yes.
I knew that you were attentive to everything that was going on in your backyard, which made the process, I think, you weren't intervening, you weren't like micromanaging, but I feel like I had a member with me throughout the build, because whenever I ran into issues, you would always be there for me to consult and bring the
Right.
issue to, and I would always try to come to you if we had an issue. This is the issue, here's the solution, and then we would go from there. You would make the call, right?
Right.
But I do appreciate that. I appreciate the fact that you were there and able and willing to work with me, because a lot of times when you do that to a customer, they'll sometimes say, well, it was on the plans, and it's supposed to be this way. And, so not everything transpires from a piece of paper to
Right.
real life. With that being said, what happened at your pool that happened on?
Yes, well, the wall. I think, that was the
What
one
wall? What are
thing.
you talking? I don't know
Yeah.
what you're talking about.
I mean, on paper, it looks the way it's supposed to look, and then when you see it, you're like you said, I'm very visual, and I saw it and I was like, "That's not tall enough," and then it was, I think we had to go wider, and then the concrete in the back, I don't think I ever thought about behind the wall, the concrete, it was just you're too, like, caught up in
Right.
other stuff, but I mean, it worked out great, you
Right,
know?
right, right. Yeah, we'll plug a picture of her pool and kinda her layout, and, she has a raised wall, so she's got a really beautiful modern looking pool. It's a square, it's a geometric pool, geometric spa, and she's got a raised wall in the deep end with a couple shears, right? You have some
Yes.
shears there, and the shears being evenly spaced,
Oh,
and
I did forget about that.
right, and everything just working out the way it needed to, so that you were happy at the end of the day. It really just made that process so much easier for me as a project manager and a builder. Like the sidewalk in the back, right? I think that was where I think we were just marking stuff out. I think we were like at decking, and then I said, "Hey, this is the time, like if
Yeah,
you want to add something, this is when you do it, right?" And then you said, "Paint it out, draw it out." We looked at it and you said, "Yeah, let's go with it," right?
yeah,
Anytime we do that, by the way, when you do a change order, and when you do any changes to the set of plans that are approved through any city or any township, you do have to go back and submit, so that way they are aware of those changes. So just be aware of that, customers, right? That's something that
yeah.
does take time. You sometimes will lose a week or two in doing those things. So please don't get mad at us when we're off by a week or two, right? But that didn't happen at your place. I think the biggest hang up we had was maybe a little bit of weather, right? I think we had
Oh,
a
yeah.
little bit of
Well,
rain.
we had that storm,
Yes, ma'am.
that right when they did the dig, the storm kinda came out of nowhere, and we had to, you guys were right away with the pump in the pool or in the
Yes,
hole,
ma'am. Yes, ma'am. We were
and
pumping
then,
the water
the
out. Yes, ma'am.
hurricane happened right after we finished, and I called you guys like, "Oh my gosh, there's branches in the pool because they had just the plaster was new, and but you guys responded immediately, and I mean, everything was okay.
Yes, ma'am.
You
Yes,
took
ma'am.
care of it,
Yeah,
and
I think a lot of that also has, and I will always say this, I'm a firm believer in this, that a pool reflects the customer, and it gets your personality, right?
yeah,
So being you're so meticulous and so neat and so clean, because when I told you at the startup, when we plastered your pool, I said, "Hey, brush this pool. The more you brush it, the better it's gonna
oh, yeah.
look." And I remember for that 1 month after, like, we plastered the pool, we do a startup service for 30 days, and when I would drop in, I would always see you out there
Yeah.
brushing your pool, and it looks so your plaster, when I went there and I looked at it, I remember saying one time, like, this is one of the best plasters I've seen, right?
Oh,
Because
wow.
you did your part as a homeowner, and also you're taking care of that investment, right? You're protecting that investment that you and your husband
Yes.
paid a lot of money for, right? So I think you did everything right for the outcome to be that beautiful pool that you do have, right?
Yeah.
Um, I will say the one thing I'm jealous of your pool that I don't have at mine is that you're able to do the red lights.
Oh my gosh, the lights have been so much fun.
Yeah.
It's one of the boys' favorite things when they have friends over, and then they're pretty bossy. They're like, "Can you change it again? And I'm like, "Look, guys, here, you do it." 'Cause
Why haven't you gave them the access to the app yet?
yeah, well, the younger two haven't. My older one can have access to it, but the younger two would just be probably turning pumps on and off, and I don't know. But
Yeah,
yeah, but
that's actually pretty smart. That
yeah, I mean, it's just I finally put it on the, color change mode, but and then everyone could be happy, but it's their favorite thing, and they have, like, this little remote control shark, and my middle one likes to film, like, Jaws movies, and so he'll put the shark in there and put it.
nice, nice. Yeah, I think you sent me a picture of that, and I was like, "That is so cool." And then the shark's like in there swimming around,
Yeah,
right?
he
So
yeah.
my daughter, who's 10, also likes sharks, right? I think we
Oh,
talked
yeah.
about that. But you were actually the first customer of Regal to get those Jandy Infinity lights.
Really?
hmm
I didn't know
So you
that.
were the very first. So when those lights came out, obviously we're always about the latest and greatest. We always want to give the customers the best of the best, right? But we always give you guys the option. And I believe they gave you an option of doing the infinity lights or the regular watercolors, and you said you wanted the
I want it, yeah.
infinities. And the cool thing about those is you have zones, and you
Yeah.
can actually change. You have a color wheel that you can literally just dial in a
Yeah,
color
we've
to
done
the.
that too. That's a lot of fun. You can pick your own
Mhm.
colors and stuff, and
Right.
it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, so I'm really happy that that ended up being a highlight of your pool, right?
Oh, yeah. It
Those
makes the whole nighttime swim more exciting. I don't know. And then if it's like the 4th of July, we'll do like red, white, and blue or,
right,
just a
right.
themed. It's
Yep,
really fun.
yep. Those themes are cool.
Yeah.
Do you remember when we were finishing up and we were like, you were already doing your brushing and we were doing the start of service, and you're like, Edwin, my spa, there's this shear coming off. Remember, you were like, what's going on with the spa? And you're like,
Yeah.
It's a lot of water versus when it's running on regular mode, right?"
Yeah, yeah.
You
The
remember that? The
the
spillover mode?
the spillover
Do
mode.
you still
Yes,
use that?
I do.
You do?
And
Cool.
I really like it. It's especially when you're sitting because we have that pergola with the swings, and when you're sitting there and you just see the sheer over the tiles and backsplash, it just looks really good.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Yeah, your spa too is really slick. I like how your spa looks.
I love the jets that you guys use, and, I never noticed this, but I have other friends who have built pools, and they don't have as many jets in their spa, and that makes a difference.
Yeah, it does.
Like,
It does.
one has their own, because everyone wants one, like, on their back, and if you don't, you can adjust the little nozzles and stuff, and that was just part of your, like, basic spa. There was no upgrades to that.
So, what you're referring to is the split level seating, right? Where one section of your jets is like 3 or 4 inches higher than the other section, right? Do you have on your front wall do you have benches all the way around
Yes.
on your spa?
Yeah.
So you have a total of like 8 spa jets, right?
Yes.
The cool thing about those as well is you can kind of turn those off and on, right?
Yeah, yeah, just to be able to kind of like, because not everyone wants it on their
Yes,
back,
ma'am.
but it's just
Yes, ma'am.
that's one of our
Yep.
favorite
Yep.
features.
So
Yeah.
those jets are those I think they're called Aqua Thunders. They work really well. And you turn them clockwise to close them off, and then you turn them counterclockwise a quarter turn or a half a turn, and it turns those jets on. And usually I'll always let homeowners know that they can turn up to 50% of those off, right? So if you have 8 of them, only turn about 4 of them off, because then you're putting too much back pressure on your pump, and
Right.
your pump is running at such a high speed that it can create issues. It won't work the way it needs to work. So,
Yeah.
uh, how about the travertine? How's that been holding up? How has your deck been holding up?
Yeah, love it. The deck, I mean, we did spray deck because is that the right term for it that we use? It's the
Yes.
texture. Okay. I love it. I mean, it was my big thing whenever I talked to Jessica, who was our salesperson. I said, we want our dream backyard, but we're going to do it in phases. And the pool's the most important part. Like, I don't want to do anything that jeopardizes the quality of the pool, the hole in the ground. And so the spray deck was something you can change later if you want, or you can keep it. And I love it. I mean, it looks clean. It's not hot on their feet. It's been great.
Yeah, I like how your vision you say that you were doing it in phases, but I didn't see phases, actually. I didn't see any I seen you put a pool in, and then I seen the, like, little pergola thing go up for the chairs, and then you're getting to it, so, I don't know how much stages you did it in, but I think you did it in the right stages, you know, you were dead on, right? Like, yes, do your pool, and then you everything goes in after that, right? You don't wanna sacrifice on that one thing that you want to be the focal point of your backyard, right?
Exactly.
You have a pretty big backyard too.
Yeah, there was a lot of space to work with, and so, that was another thing too was, you guys were really patient with me because I would send in amateur sketches. It was like, crayons
You're
and
not the only one, Ashley. I
oh my gosh, it was so amateur, but Jessica would come back and it was like, "Yeah, I like that." And we moved the position of the pool around many times. And, because I had started talking to her about a year in advance over this, and so by the time we settled on it, it was, like, perfect, we thought about the flow of the yard and all of that stuff, so
That's how you were so in tune with those plans before I even put them up on the window.
I had 'em memorized.
I remember we had them taped on the window, you're like, "Edwin, this is not right. We need to change them." And I was like, "Yes, ma'am. We'll get to those right away."
I felt like, sometimes I would joke with my neighbors, like, "I don't know how Regal built pools before me," because I was so neurotic about things.
Yes,
Y'all
ma'am.
probably were like, "Finish this
That that
quickly."
that really is the bulk of our clients, you know? Like, I mean, typically when somebody's buying a pool from Regal, they know what they want, right? They're coming in with a clear view of a vision of what they're wanting, and we try to help them sometimes kind of clean that up or whatever, right? But you knew what you wanted, and I think that, like I said, I'll continue to say that when you know what you want and you're not undecisive, the project just moves so much faster. Because I don't think there was ever a phase in your pool build where we stopped work for more than 3 or 4 days,
No,
right?
it's true, yeah. Because I mean, and that was, like, weather related, really. Everything was
And you were blessed because you were on, like, the main road, so we were able to get access, through the township on that side road where we didn't
yeah,
have to squeeze in between your neighbors,
houses.
right?
Yeah,
Because
that's
sometimes
true.
in the woodlands, it gets pretty tight. We can always get in there, promise you, we can always get in there, but
I will say you guys were really good about I mean, you would scrape up the street. I mean, if there was any mess, you guys were on it. My neighbors were so pleasantly surprised. It was just a great experience because your neighbors are kind of going through it with you too. The trucks and construction are happening, and you guys just made it pleasant for everyone.
we try not to infringe on that relationship, right? We know that neighbors are important. We know that that relationship, even if you don't talk to them, right? The
Yeah,
last thing you want to do is inconvenience your neighbors in their home where they
right,
live in their neighborhood, right? We always try to do that. It wasn't just at your place, right?
right.
We always try to set a silt fence by the road. And every time it would rain really hard, all that dirt will wash out, and you would see me out there shoveling the dirt back in behind that silt fence, right? Like, we really do try to keep those main roads clean and to have the trash fence area set up. Um, we really do try to keep everything in one solid place, solid area so that we can keep that trash contained and it doesn't look as bad. At your place, I remember we had a bunch of like tree roots, right?
Oh
Because
my
you had a
gosh.
bunch of like big pine trees and
So many trees. In fact, I think we had like 7 removed where the pool was, and then after that, we had to have more, and then there was tree stumps inside the like, when they started digging, there was other tree
for
stumps.
that.
So many
I
trees.
think that's why we had like to pump the water out and like because it just become so when you're digging a pool sometimes and we don't know what's under the dirt. We don't have an idea what's under the dirt. So once we started in a hole, we'll find sometimes trunks that are 36, 48 inches round, if not bigger, right? The root systems are even bigger. So sometimes that does pose a challenge for us. And sometimes our excavation company will charge us for removing those. So whenever we do come to the customers, when we're at a dig, obviously we didn't have that happen at your place because I think that was in budget. But when we have those situations, we sometimes do get uncomfortable and have to knock on the homeowner's door and say, hey, there's 2 big roots here. Your gunite is now maybe gonna be a little over because now we have a huge hole that we're trying to fill in. I don't know if you remember that. I remember we had like
Yeah.
a washout in an area, and then what that does is typically we shoot our beams 12 inches and then our walls are 6 to 8. And what that does when you have an undermining like that is it essentially makes that wall a full 12-inch wall thickness all the way down to the floor, right? That's something that customers really don't ever think about, because us as a pool builder, we don't go back to the customer and say, hey, this washed out, this is going to cost you more. But we do like to communicate those things, right? Because the good, the bad, the ugly.
Yeah.
That's just how I like to say it, right? The good, I'll tell you everything. I'll tell you the good, the bad, the ugly.
Yeah.
And with that, I'll always make sure to communicate. And I think I would send you a message every Monday, right?
Oh, yeah.
Every
Like
Monday,
clockwork.
you would get a text message of what was going on for the week.
Yeah.
And if something would switch up, we would still be talking back and forth. Or if somebody didn't show up, you would text me and say, hey, Edwin, the guys didn't show up today. Is everything okay? And I would say they're running a little late, or no, they're not coming till the
Yeah.
next day, right?
Yeah. I mean, the communication was spot on. I have no complaints.
I don't think we had a lot of issues with people showing up to your place because you kept a cooler full of drinks
I did.
at all times.
Look, I felt like that was just, those guys work so hard. And, I think
And you
having
didn't
that
have to
out
do
there.
that, because I think I told you a couple times, like, Ashley, you don't have to do that. And the reason why you wanted to know if people were going there was to make sure you had ice and Gatorades for them
Yeah.
that day of work. And I know that's what you were asking me, like, why, like, hey, are they going to be here or not? It wasn't because of what are you doing, what's going on, where are we at? It was because you genuinely cared about the people that were doing the work in your
Yeah.
backyard, and they do appreciate that. I'm telling you that because they expressed that to me, right?
Well,
So
I mean,
thank you.
I appreciate them. They work very hard. And you guys, have the best of the best in the business working on the pools. And I mean, I have friends who are in the business and they're like, oh yeah, they use all the best contractors. And so I felt like I really appreciate the work they're putting. I mean, it takes artistry to kind of do this stuff, and talent. Not just anyone can go in. I mean, the tile guy, even the guys doing the plaster, it really is an art.
Yes, ma'am.
And so you want someone who's good at that,
Thank
and
you for acknowledging that.
they have that gift. And so
Yes, ma'am. Thank
this
you for
was the least
acknowledging
I could
that.
do.
Yeah, because nobody really ever sees that, right? I'm not saying we're perfect. We make mistakes, right? Tradesmen makes mistakes. We're all human. To err is human, right? Um, so it's just what you do to correct those mistakes and how you move forward and how you move on from there, right? So I think we're a company that really has taken a big value in that, and we take those lessons to heart, right? We always make sure that we learn from that, and we try not to commit those same mistakes over and over, right?
Right. No, I mean, you guys handled everything so well. And I mean, even with the tile, there were, things like a few pieces where I would go and say, that looks a little crooked. And he would come back and fix it. I mean, I had Oreo ice cream sandwiches for I was like, "Here, take this if it was hot, it was brutal out there, but they were so happy to fix it. They wanted it to be right. They never came in the backyard and were like, "Oh, this lady," I mean, everyone had I mean, in front of me, everyone had a positive attitude. And
It's always that way. We
yeah.
really do try to, always have a positive attitude. If a customer walks into our backyard, obviously we would expect for them to communicate with us, the project manager, but they're people, and I think you acknowledge them as so, and they've seen that. And there's a huge value in that when you treat people like people,
Right.
right?
Yeah,
They're
I
not
agree.
just the help,
Right,
right? And
exactly.
and that's why, like, when I was asked to, like, would you bring some customers in? You were like at the very top of my list,
Oh, thank you.
because you resonated with me in so many ways, right? Because um, you were you were always very conscious of watching the money for the hubby,
Yeah. Well, he was
right?
conscious and reminding
So
me.
so right, so you were very conscious on the money end. So you're doing your part as a wife, doing your part as a mom, doing your part as kind of a exterior decorator, because you helped us design that thing, right?
Yeah.
And make sure that all the colors coordinated and everything looked the way it needed to. So, kudos to you,
Thank
Ashley,
you.
and your husband too, right? Like, I met him a couple times towards the end, and great guy,
Yeah.
really, really, really great guy. I can see that your family and your core and your values were in thoughts when you planned that pool out.
Oh, yeah.
because your family is who spends that time. Their friends are the ones that are
Yeah.
there jumping off that wall that you wanted a certain width on the top because the kids
Oh, yeah.
you didn't want the kids falling off, right? And I
Yeah.
was like, "Ashley, it's gonna be okay. Trust me." And
Oh,
then you
yeah.
seen it and you're like, "Edwin, you were right."
Yeah, because at first in my mind, that was the biggest thing. I knew my boys and their friends were and it's all they do. They do backflips off of that thing, and I'm just like, I'm I
How's it
mean
working out, by the way?
oh, perfect. They love
Nice.
it. I actually told them, I was like, "Okay, no more backflips. That's a little too much. You guys can jump," but they were like, "Oh, come on."
Your heart stops every time you see 'em do
Yes,
it.
yes, but, they love it. It's just even the swings, I thought about this too, the, pergola with the swings. In the beginning, I had the swings over that sun deck,
Yes, ma'am.
and you were like, what about backing it up a little bit because, they'll be" and my thought was the boys will be swinging into the pool, and they 100% would have done that. So that was a good move too, like,
Yeah.
to
Yeah, you stepped those back, and I think you ended up putting, like, a stepping little stepping stones in that area or
Yes,
some rocks or something, right?
yes, some, rocks with the little step.
Real chill vibe. I like how that
Yeah.
looks, like, you go there, I could so see you out there in the afternoon reading a book,
Oh, yeah.
like, watching the kids play, just hanging out, like, uh, I think that was a all you thing, right? Like, I think
Yes.
that was your idea. I think you brought out, like, the hardware, you ordered the hardware. By the way, whenever customers have things that they're wanting to get installed, as long as you guys get with us, the project manager, it shouldn't be a problem. As long as you guys can furnish us the things that we need,
Yeah.
and conversate with us on what you're trying to do, so we're aligned, we can definitely try to make that happen for you. And that's what you did. You said, "Hey, Edwin, I got these unique kind of half shell style swings that I want to put I want to hang up." And we got to talking about it, and then that's when we kind of talked about the deck, and you ended up moving it back, and in a yard like yours, it was just a great use of the space.
It was, yeah.
You weren't choking up your deck. You have a huge walkway, 360 degrees around your deck because you ended up doing the sidewalk on the backside, right? So you really covered all the angles. You
Yeah.
really did.
Yeah. We love it.
Thank you.
We really do.
Ashley, I just wanted to say once again, we appreciate you as a customer.
Oh,
Uh,
thanks. I
you
appreciate
can
you
call me
guys.
anytime. You know that.
I know I
I'm here for
have. I've
you.
texted you and,
Yes,
Jessica
ma'am.
for things, and you
And
guys
we're here
respond
for you.
so fast.
That
Yeah.
that is the value that you have with Regal Pools, right?
Yeah.
Like I tell people when I go do a handshake at the end of the project, I'll give them my card and I'll say, "Call me. Call me when you're having a party." First thing I say is text me because right now, uh, these scam calls are crazy, right? They,
Oh,
they
yeah.
they figured out how to get the cell phones all right. They're there, right? So now I don't pick up my phone as much as I used to. But if you text me and you say, "Hey, this is so and so, I have a problem," I will call you because I want that to happen. I
Yeah.
want you to have a party and something at work, and you say, "1 second, let me call my pool guy," and him pick up.
Yeah.
I want you to have those bragging rights
Yeah.
because that's the relationship, right? That I wholeheartedly feel that the customer that has paid a huge sum amount of money to build a
Yeah.
beautiful project with us is owed, right?
Yeah.
I really do feel that.
Well, I'm thankful for that, and it's why I picked you guys. I mean, I knew Regal was who I wanted, and I'm so happy with my choice. I mean, it's been great.
Yes, ma'am.
So
Through the graces of God, I am so happy that I was able to meet you
I know, I
because
feel the same. I'm just
if
thankful.
the project manager didn't leave and didn't go to another company,
Yeah.
then I would have never stepped in and took over your project and
Yeah.
never had the pleasure of meeting you and all that, right? So God works in mysterious ways. I really do feel that way. And I feel that he did that so that you can be here today in
Yeah.
front here talking to the audience, future customers, or just anybody looking at this podcast, right? To just educate them, to let them know who they're doing business with, because it matters.
Oh, yeah.
It does matter.
It does matter.
Once again, thank you so much, Ashley. We appreciate you
All
coming
right.
in today,
Thanks for
and
having me.
look forward to seeing you in the future.
All right.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Bye.